Victoria Hale was the kind of woman who made silence feel expensive. Every step she took seemed rehearsed, every glance a performance. She came from old money, the kind that doesn't brag because it owns the bragging rights. Her family name was printed on buildings, hospitals, and museum plaques. They didn't attend charity galas, they hosted them. Her father, Richard Hale, ran a private equity empire built on control. Her mother, Elaine, curated their image like a luxury brand. And Victoria, the shining heir, was their most polished product. When she entered my life, it was sudden and sharp. We met at a launch party for a new tech startup in downtown San Francisco. She smiled like she'd already decided who I was. Her charm was magnetic, the kind that wrapped around you before you noticed. Within weeks, she filled my calendar, my apartment, and my head. She said she loved how focused I was, how different I seemed from finance guys. She called me grounded, said I made her feel real. It sounded like a compliment, but now I know it was research. She wanted to see if I could fit into her brand of perfection. I should have seen the signs. Her questions were never about who I was, only about what I could offer. Where I worked, who I knew, what circles I moved in. When she introduced me at events, she spoke like she was reading my resume. This is Ethan Walker, Senior Product Director at Crestech. Brilliant mind. Every introduction was a transaction, another way to climb. Her friends were the kind who wore designer smiles and measured their worth in influence. They called themselves the Prescott Circle. If your name wasn't whispered there, you didn't exist. Victoria thrived in that world, but she needed someone who looked like substance beside her. That was me. At first, I didn't mind the spotlight. It felt good to belong, even if the room reeked of arrogance. But slowly, the cracks showed. Every dinner was a show. Every compliment had a script. She talked about our future, but meant our image. Her apartment looked like a showroom. No books, no mess, no life. She planned our outfits before every event, matching colors for photographs. Once, I asked why it mattered so much. She smiled and said, "Because perception is reality." That line stayed with me. I didn't know then it was her motto, her truth. Her affection was conditional, a currency she spent when she needed leverage. If I canceled a plan for work, she'd pout and say, "Do you even care how we look?" Not how I feel. How we look. Some nights, I'd catch her scrolling through photos of herself, zooming in, adjusting filters. It wasn't vanity, it was obsession. Her life was a campaign, and I was a feature in her ad. Still, I held on. Because she made chaos look like elegance. Because I wanted to believe that love could exist in her world of mirrors. But deep down, something whispered that I was just a reflection she liked. Not a person she loved. It happened on a Friday night, the kind of night that feels ordinary before it burns you. Ryan and I had finished a long week and decided to grab drinks at the Lantern. It was one of those places where money and charm mixed like perfume and smoke. Victoria had texted me earlier, saying she was out with her girlfriends. She even sent a picture of them smiling at a fancy restaurant uptown. I remember thinking how effortless she looked in that photo. I ordered a whiskey. Ryan was talking about work, laughing about something dumb. Then the room shifted. Across the bar, I saw her. Victoria, in a silver dress that shimmered under the dim light. Her hands were wrapped around some guy's neck, like they'd been doing it for years. He held her waist, pulled her close, and kissed her. Not a friendly kiss, not confusion. It was practiced, confident. For a moment, my brain refused to believe what my eyes saw. I thought maybe it was a lookalike, a trick of light, anything but her. But then she laughed. That same sharp laugh that used to cut through my mornings. Ryan followed my stare and froze. "Ethan, wait," he said, but I was already walking. I moved through the crowd, heartbeat heavy, head clear. I didn't yell. I didn't make a scene. I just said her name. Victoria. She turned, startled for half a breath, then her face changed. Cold, controlled. She blinked once and said, "Excuse me, who are you?" The guy frowned, confused, but she didn't flinch. Her tone was perfect, smooth, loud enough for people to hear. She leaned into him like I was a stranger. People nearby began to stare. I stood there, trying to find words that made sense. "What the hell are you doing?" Her smile sharpened. "Security," she shouted, eyes wide like she was scared. "He's been following me all night." For a second, everything stopped. Then 2 bouncers appeared, grabbing my arms before I could speak. I tried to explain, but their faces said they'd already chosen sides. Victoria folded her arms and looked away, the picture of the innocent victim. As they pushed me toward the door, she said it. "I've never seen this man before in my life." The words hit harder than the rain outside. I stood there on the sidewalk, soaked and silent, hearing the music fade behind me. People stared through the window, whispering. I wanted to scream, to break something, to erase the image of her smirking. But I didn't. I just stood there and felt everything collapse inside me. Then something shifted. Not rage, not grief. Clarity. In that moment, I understood who she really was. A woman who'd rather destroy someone than admit the truth. I looked up at the neon lights bleeding in the rain and said quietly, "You'll regret this, Victoria, but not tonight." Then I walked away, calm, dripping, already planning what came next. The next morning, the world felt too quiet. My phone was full of missed calls from Ryan, but I ignored them. Sleep hadn't come, coffee didn't help. All I could see was her face, calm and cruel, pretending not to know me. Most people would have walked away. But I don't let lies win that easily. By noon, I was driving through the iron gates of the Hale estate. The driveway curved like a private runway, lined with trimmed hedges and silence. The house looked like a museum for people who never apologized. A guard stopped me, checked my name, and after a call, waved me through. She hadn't told them yet. Part of me hoped they'd act like adults, like people who cared about decency. That hope lasted 10 seconds. Richard Hale opened the door himself. Perfect suit, cold eyes, voice like polished glass. "Ethan," he said without warmth, "what do you want?" I kept my tone even. "I thought you should hear this from me. Your daughter humiliated me last night." He gave a small laugh, the kind men give when they think they're above consequence. "You weren't married, were you?" he said. "These things happen." Then came the dagger. "She's young, attractive. She can do better than you, don't take it personally." I stared at him. He actually believed that money could rewrite morality. He wasn't defending his daughter. He was defending the illusion that their name couldn't be stained. Before I could answer, Elaine Hale appeared behind him. Perfect hair, designer robe, smile like a threat wrapped in perfume. "Ethan," she said softly, "there's no need to make this messy, it's private." Private. The word stung. To them, everything ugly just needed better lighting. I realized right then that they didn't care what happened. They only cared who was watching. I nodded slowly. "You're right," I said. "Let's not make it messy." She smiled, relieved, thinking she'd won. Then I added, "You just did." Their smiles faltered. I turned and walked away without another word. The air outside felt lighter, sharper. I wasn't angry anymore. I was awake. They thought I was another man who'd leave quietly. Someone they could erase with a whisper and a donation. But they'd made a mistake. They'd shown me how their world worked. Image over integrity, control over truth. I'd built my career by studying systems, finding flaws, and exposing them. And now I saw theirs clearly. The Hales didn't solve problems. They buried them under money and charm. That was their weakness. Because the one thing money can't buy is silence when the truth starts speaking. As I drove away, I already knew my next move. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to fight. I was going to dismantle their illusion, piece by piece. Not with anger. With precision. I spent that night in silence. No music, no calls, just the hum of the city outside my window. The anger was gone. What replaced it was calculation. Victoria had played her game well, but she'd underestimated mine. I opened my laptop and went through everything. Messages, photos, emails, every trace of her digital world. She had once logged into her private Instagram on my computer. And like everything she touched, she'd forgotten to clean up. The account was still open. I clicked through her DMs, one by one. What I found didn't shock me. It confirmed what I already knew. There wasn't just one man. There were three. The guy from the bar, a finance executive, and a lawyer from her mother's circle. Each one thought he was special. Each one thought she was exclusive. Each one was wrong. Her messages were carefully crafted. Compliments copy-pasted. Excuses recycled like dialogue from a bad script. She played sympathy like a professional. I just need someone who understands me. I hate that people only see my family name. I feel safe with you. Different men, same bait. I took screenshots of everything. Dates, times, overlapping lies. It was like watching a con artist rehearse her lines. But the truth wasn't enough. I needed proof that couldn't be denied or spun. So I stayed quiet. I replied to her last message, calm and casual. Rough week. I'm still trying to process everything. Hope you're okay. She responded in minutes. I'm glad you reached out. Maybe we can talk soon. I almost laughed. Even now, she believed she was in control. That's when I knew the best revenge wasn't destruction. It was exposure. Not through rage, through patience. Over the next few days, I played along. Soft replies, small pauses. Just enough to make her think she still had me. Meanwhile, I watched her continue the same act with others. More messages, more men, more lies. Her ego made her predictable. The more I pulled away, the more she chased. She thought she was reeling me back in. In reality, she was tightening her own noose. I gathered everything, texts, screenshots, timestamps. A full timeline of deceit. It wasn't jealousy driving me. It was clarity. Victoria wasn't impulsive. She was strategic, manipulative, practiced. This wasn't love gone wrong. It was a pattern. And patterns can be dismantled. Ryan told me I was crazy for not confronting her. But confrontation was for amateurs. I didn't want a scene. I wanted an ending she couldn't rewrite. So I waited. Watched. Collected. And planned. Because the next time she looked into a mirror, I wanted her to see what she'd created. Not a goddess. Not a victim. Just a liar, standing in the ruins of her own design. It started with a message. Simple, direct. I think we should talk about Victoria. I sent it to the man from the bar first. He didn't reply for hours, then finally said, "Who is this?" When I explained, he went silent again. Then one line appeared. "Meet me." We met in a small cafe near the marina. He looked like someone who hadn't slept in days. I showed him the screenshots. His face went pale, then furious. "She told me you were stalking her," he said quietly. I nodded. That's what she told me about someone else. By the end of that meeting, he wasn't angry at me anymore. He was angry at her. Next was the finance guy. I found his number through an old contact from a networking event. When I sent him the evidence, he called immediately. "She told me you two broke up months ago," he said, voice shaking. "She said you were unstable." I told him the truth. He cursed it under his breath, then whispered, "So we were all the same story." Exactly. 3 men. Same script. Different roles. The lawyer was the hardest to reach. When I finally got him on a call, His tone was measured. He listened to everything, then sighed. "She's smart," he said, "but arrogance always ruins the clever." We agreed to meet. And just like that, we were a strange alliance. Not friends. Not victims. Just people who refused to stay silent. At first, the ideas were messy. Someone wanted to confront her in public. Another suggested leaking everything to the press. But none of that felt clean. It would make us look bitter. That's when I said it. She has a gala next week, hosted by her mother, big event, press everywhere. They looked at me. "She'll be there pretending to be perfect. Let's not stop her, let's help her." The lawyer leaned forward. "Help her? Let her walk into her own downfall," I said. We spent the next 3 days planning. Each man recorded a short video. No drama. No insults. Just facts. Each story told the same pattern: charm, lies, manipulation, discard. I edited them together into a 6-minute reel. Each voice stacked upon the other like evidence in a trial. The last clip was mine. I spoke simply. She told me love was trust. Then she told the world I was a stranger. When I finished, the room was silent. No one smiled. We didn't celebrate. We just knew. This wasn't revenge. It was correction. The truth was ready. All that was left was timing. Victoria had built her life on appearances. And soon, she'd walk straight into the light that would expose her. I handed the flash drive to the event's AV team myself. They thought it was a tribute. In a way, it was. A tribute to the end of the illusion she called love. The night of the gala glowed like a movie set. Crystal lights, champagne towers, the smell of wealth and pretense. Victoria arrived in silver, radiant. Untouchable, believing she had already won. She slipped her arm through mine, smiling for every camera flash. To the crowd, we were perfect. To me, we were seconds away from collapse. The Hale family stood near the stage, polished and proud. Richard shaking hands, Elaine greeting donors like royalty. The night hummed with arrogance. After dinner, the host took the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen, a special tribute from Victoria's wonderful partner." The lights dimmed. Applause followed. Victoria turned to me, her hand resting lightly on mine. She whispered, "You didn't have to do this." I smiled. "I know." Then the screen lit up. The first man appeared. He sat in his living room, voice steady, face tired. "I met Victoria last year. She said she wasn't ready for something serious." He paused. But she was saying that to 3 of us at the same time. Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Victoria froze. The second video played. The finance executive spoke, calm but wounded. She said she wanted privacy, that people used her. I believed her. While she was telling me that, she was on dates with 2 others. The room fell silent. The third man appeared, the lawyer composed but cold. She told me she admired honesty. But she never told the truth. She used our kindness like props for her image. Every eye turned toward Victoria. Her hand slipped from mine. The final clip began. "Me. I loved her for 6 months. She said she wanted something real. Then one night, she called security and told a bar full of strangers I was a stalker." Gasps echoed. She didn't make a mistake. She made a choice. And tonight, I'm making mine to stop pretending. The screen went black. The silence that followed felt endless. No one moved. No applause. No saving smile. Victoria stood frozen, pale under the lights that once adored her. Elaine reached for her arm, whispering something that didn't matter. Richard stared straight ahead, expressionless. I placed my glass on the table and stepped back. The music returned faintly, awkward and misplaced. People started whispering. Her friends turned away. By the next morning, the video had spread online. Clips, quotes, whispers. Truth travels fast when it tastes like scandal. Victoria tried to fight back. She sent messages, threats, even legal letters. But evidence speaks louder than privilege. Every text, every timestamp was real. Within a week, she vanished from every event list. The Hale family retreated into silence. No apologies. Just disappearance. I didn't feel triumphant. Just finished. Justice doesn't always roar. Sometimes it just plays quietly on a big screen and lets everyone finally see. Weeks passed and the noise faded. The video stopped trending, but its echo lingered in every whispered room. Victoria disappeared from the public eye. No photos, no posts, no more perfection. People said she was taking time to heal. But healing requires honesty, and she never owned the truth. The Hale family rebuilt their walls of silence. Donations replaced apologies. Reputation patched with charity smiles. But people remembered. They always do. As for me, life became quieter, clearer. I woke up without checking my phone for chaos. Work felt lighter, real again. Ryan said I looked different, calm, grounded. He was right. I had stopped carrying the weight of her illusion. Some nights, I still think about that world of mirrors she built. How fragile it all was once the truth touched it. She played games for control. I played for closure. And in the end, truth didn't just expose her. It freed me. Because sometimes, the greatest revenge isn't ruin. It's peace.